Let's see what finish is in store for you. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's time for that weekly mod collection demo shop update. This week was pretty strong, not gonna lie. They took a few G's from my pocket this week. So we will see a review of one of these guitars. So see if you can guess. But starting things off, we have Royal Metallic Les Paul Custom being offered at $5,100. This was a pretty cool one if you like metallic blue finishes. It pops, it's got areas of lightness and darkness, the gold hardware. Lack of poker chip gives it some identity, but no matching headstock or anything like that. And then the body has the same matching finish, and so does the back of the headstock. Let's move on. No, wait, just kidding. It has a magenta colored sides. And when I show you the full photo, it's a blue stinger on the back of the headstock with the magenta neck. So you've got this whole two-tone colored finish on your neck and the edges of the body. So that's pretty cool. Call it the gender reveal Les Paul. Is it going to be blue for boy or pink for girl? A Gibson lover out there could use that. To follow that up, we've got a 61 SG Standard in what they consider pitch black sparkle. So at first glance, I don't really see any sparkles, but they did say pitch black, so maybe you just have to appreciate it in person. But it does have upgraded gold hardware. You've got the golden style reflector knobs. But then you look at the headstock and you go, oh, okay, I think I can kind of see what they're doing here. It looks like there's some sort of like a purple clear coat tint over top of black, and maybe that has some sparkles within it. And you zoom in right here, you can kind of see it. So likely one to appreciate in person. Next up, the return of a cult classic, all the way from the beginning of the mod collection days. We have not seen Cosmic Stew return in a long time, so it's great that they brought it back. This time in a full-on ES335. We actually did document the Cosmic Stew finish, but it was on the 335 Studio model. So you can check out that review and demo here if you're interested to see what this finish does in person. But as always, they knocked it out of the park. Maybe it's not my favorite of the Cosmic Stews, because some of them were crazier than others, but this one is dialed back, but very tasteful. I especially like this area. And we even have the matching headstock to complement. And they didn't skimp, the entire back was also done up like that. Needless to say, that one went fast. To save yourself $400, you could also have picked up this 335 called Red Gold Sparkle. This one kind of has a cool modified 1963 35 like vibes to it. At first it just looks red, but then when you really get in here, you can see some of the sparkles that they're talking about. They capped off the original tailpiece, gave it one of these crazy vibrolas. Oh, I love it. Look, eye, like a big happy mouth. He's like waving to you. Just imagine he has a little top hat over there. That's funny. But it's got the regular headstock. And ooh, wow, this photo really shows you the sparkly finish. As does this one. Next, we've got Sepia Burst. I'm really interested to see why Gibson decided to change their photo styling. It seems many guitars are facing the opposite direction now. I wonder if it's because it shows off the flame tops better. This one's just kind of a interesting orangish red burst. The back is just straight up red, and it's sold for $29. And it's nearly spooky season. We're starting to get haunting titles with the Bewitching Blue Sparkle SG Modern. Now, first, it doesn't really look that different from most SG Moderns, but this one, it's super sparkly. And yeah, you lost the flame top, but you've got more of a bordered edge to it. But what I found increasingly interesting is the back. They decided to paint over your plastic, that's cool, and then they give you a heel stinger, leaving it with just the regular blue neck of the normal Modern. And oh, cool, full-size Grover tuners on that one. Most of the SG Modern switched over to the mini Grovers. And with that one being a 2023, I wonder if that was an error or if they're going back. Next up, Goldtop Racer. They're working on clearing out the classics. This time they gave us interestingly covered pickups, the radiator style with the gold grill underneath. And then, oh, okay. It looks to me like it's a trans red finish, kind of like just a normal cherry color. So you can still see some of the wood grain, but then they put the racing stripes over top of that. I actually really like that idea. Then on the back, you've got kind of the inverse of it, with more of the cherry stain and then a golden stinger, with more of the revealed cherry underneath. Yeah, we can pat that guy on the back. That was a cool idea. That took something we've seen before, but gave it a new twist. They also had a 58 Custom Shop Double Cut Junior. It was $3,500. It looks like that's a complete red color, so it's not see-through like normal, but it's really this pickguard that transforms the whole vibe of this one. Looking at this really reminds me of the Ember Red Melody Maker that we just documented. But what's going on here? Not exactly sure, it's a bit too blurry. Looking at the back of the headstock, it's got a normal serial number, so this was likely a custom order, or maybe a dealer exclusive that I'm not familiar with, that they just changed up the pickguard a bit for. But now we've got Metallic Saddle Brown SG Special. This one's extra special because you got triple P90s. They threw another one in there just for good measure. And they decided to go for the 3-volume master tone setup. That way you can have full control over these. And normally these are like a sparkling burgundy finish, but this one's that saddle brown metallic color. And then lastly, Cobalt Mist 50 Standard. For a little bit of a premium, if you really like blue and zebra pickups, you could get it. It looks great, just not quite as exciting as some of the other offerings this week. So now we need to explore the EU mod collection. It is confirmed they are just using old USA stock that either didn't sell, might have gotten returned, or maybe there's some other reasons of how they ended up in Europe, because we had 3 very familiar ones this week. So let's start off with this one. This time around they called it Natural Bird Burst. I vividly remember these things because I wanted one. Because I love the hummingbird design, so to put it on an electric guitar was really fascinating to me. And it's basically just a decal underneath a new satin finish. They took the time to give it a custom pick guard. They put a butterfly on your pickup cover. I believe that was one of the first guitars that they started experimenting that with. Now, unfortunately, you don't have any of that continued onto the back, but initially they had made 2 or 3 of those, and I remember they sold out almost instantaneously. But I found a new trick here. This is how you can view the other listings if you're in the United States, by the way. Just come up here and select France or United States if you're not in the States and you want to see the States listings. But if you come over here and switch it back to United States, when you are currently on that link, it takes you back to the old listing and says notify me when available. Last week we talked about Baton Brute. This Les Paul Jr. that I was curious, was it custom shop or USA? The person who bought it actually commissioned a help session. We took a deep dive look at it and it ended up being a custom shop guitar. But interestingly enough, on the USA side, it was listed for 4,000, but on the EU side, it was only 1,500 euro. So needless to say, he got an insane deal on that thing. Somebody messed up somewhere along the line. So our next one that was a repeat is the Indigo Satin Firebird. I remember this one because it had a cool purple and gold vibe. They were doing a whole bunch of custom color Firebird customs at that time, and they just weren't selling that well. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think I used this for the thumbnail because that's a really cool headstock design. But its new price is 6,000 euro. This Les Paul Custom Goldtop, I probably wouldn't have remembered it because it's just a gold top finish with the uncovered pickups. Then they gave it the dark back vibes. And then I vividly remember this one, Money Pearl VOS. It's just a cool green color. The top really sold this one, and you've got your aged hardware and matching green headstock. But it's this photo right here that makes me think maybe these are returned mod collection guitars, because usually things that sit on the mod collection for a week or so, they send it on down to the Gibson garage and they just use it as inventory there and it eventually sells. Maybe if it sits there too long, now they're shipping it off to Europe. So I would have figured they would have did something similar to damaged guitars, but maybe they've just been holding them thinking, what should we do with these? And their answer was, ship them, see if there's a better market for it over there. We'll just have to keep watching this to see if we can learn some more. And the last one was this really cool dark red burst Les Paul Studio. It's another one of those I just remember because it's got a pretty cool back and I like the fade finish. But now let's head on over to the demo shop, starting with the USA side of things. They had a pretty cool 355 custom, really reminds me of the Chuck Berry signature run that we had documented. But this one was 7,100, which seems kind of expensive, but you don't see one of these every day. There was a 60 standard unburst. They had modified it with gold hardware. It's got a pretty alright top. And then the back is cherry. This 335 60s Cherry, I wanted to share it because it gives you late 70s ES335 Pro vibes with the uncovered pickups. Next we had a Les Paul Tribute. Now they upgraded our plastics to custom style, but I really was digging the wood grain on this one. Thankfully, as I was looking through all the photos, I found something else to make it unique. Somebody messed up our side marker inlays. And then lastly, I didn't even realize in 2023 that they were currently making a 12-string J45. So this thing sold pretty fast. Maybe there's more of a story to that one, or somebody just really wanted a 12-string J45. European mod collection time, they had a few new offerings, including another one of those Americana Rangers, a strange solid body-like acoustic guitar, but it's got the cool Gibson logo. But we've seen a few of these mid-2000s Americana series guitars out of the EU demo shop. Next up, something called the HP 665SB. Kind of looks like a shrunken down J200, more so like parlor sized. I don't know, it had an interesting back, pretty bland headstock. Looking at the fretboard as compared to the body, it looks extra wide. But this was by far the most shocking thing we saw all week, an Herb Ellis Signature ES165. That thing is beautiful. Floating JBJ pickup, single control, awesome flame top. Full body shots looking good, but then the back is equally as flamed. The sides aren't nothing to sneeze at either. I was really intrigued. When did they make this? And it was all the way back in 2007. At this point, I feel like it's a used guitar. Why even bother putting demo on it? Like, I can understand the Americana series because they didn't look like they were actually ever sold. But this one, if you go through all the photos, it's been played, it's got nicks and dings, it's not perfect. I kind of feel like it's a waste to put that on such a beautiful model when it's already nearly 2 decades old. But hey, cool model anyway. Then I was also shocked to see one of these in SG Deluxe. This was one of those strange models. It was relatively inexpensive back in the day. They had a bad time with the necks breaking on them, but now they've become a little bit more of collector's items because they're just kind of goofy. They have single ply binding on the headstock, but yet they've got the custom emblems. They called themselves a deluxe despite looking very extra fancy, but you could still see the wood grain on the back of the finish. The flame tops generally aren't anything too spectacular, but if I remember correctly, these also have the piezo saddles, so you can get acoustic tones, you can get the electric tones. They're very versatile guitars if you like Bigsby equipped fancy SGs. I do need to document one of these one day. But here's the thing, $1,800, that was a steal, especially for their market. And then lastly, the UK demo shop. Honestly, there wasn't a lot interesting here. I mean, there was a 59 335 that they gave it the aged hardware and then kind of played with our plastics and pickups. I don't necessarily agree with her choices, but it's interesting, especially since we have the long droopy guard. And then a pretty attractive DC Rust Access Standard. DC Rust is one of my favorite custom shop finishes. You don't expect to like it until you get it in person. That's when the wood grain comes out and really shows you what it's capable of doing. I would highly suggest it. In fact, now that I'm thinking, a non-reverse Firebird done up in the DC Rust finish would be pretty excellent. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed this week's recap. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.